Ah, hello again, possums. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous moo. And so it begins. Bobby Kotick is cleaning house just as he said he would do, and the first lumber to fall off the chopping block is none other than J. Allen Brack, the now former president of a company that is rapidly becoming more Activision than Blizzard. Now, I was expecting Jay to leave in the aftermath of the recent sexual harassment and workplace abuse allegations, but to be honest, I thought he would try and hang on until everything comes out in court and there was literally nowhere left to hide. Unfortunately for him, Bobby doesn't have that kind of patience these days, and so he's kicked Jay out to pursue other adventures, or whatever the other PR guff was. Now, let's be honest, it was inevitable that Jay would depart because of the Cosby Suite optics, those pictures, and the text messages wasn't so good, and of course the strange case of Alex Afrasiabi. Now, if you are not aware, Alex Afrasiabi was named in the California lawsuit due to his penchant for sexual harassing staff and also visitors to the BlizzCon conventions, and he has a Cosby Suite where he would go up and get drunk and just basically harass women all the time. J. Allen Brack is also mentioned in the lawsuit because he didn't do a very good job of disciplining him. This thing was common knowledge at Blizzard Entertainment, but you know, he got a slap on the wrist. Please don't do that. Don't be a naughty boy. Try not to be too friendly, I think was the choice of phrase. Now, at the moment, Blizzard are in the process of removing all in-game references to Alex Afrasiabi. And there are quite a few of them to go around. Given that they are doing that, chances are that, you know, Alex is probably not a topic that Activision Blizzard are likely to contest in court with any real vigour. And it so follows that, you know, if you happen to be in charge of the guy and you didn't do a very good job of disciplining him, then you're probably for the chopping block as well, and this is exactly what's happened here. But I'm sure you don't need to worry about J. Allen Brack. I'm sure he got a wad of cash and a pat on the back for leaving, and he now has a fresh opportunity to fail upwards somewhere else. I mean, seriously, could you expect him to show up at BlizzCon in one of those diversity t-shirts again to give us the latest announcements of World of Warcraft back to Azeroth again? It just didn't seem very likely. But if he's gone, who's in charge now? Well, in fact, it's two people. First up is Jennifer O'Neill, who has only really joined Activision Blizzard recently, but has been working for Vicarious Visions. She was head of that studio before it was absorbed by Blizzard themselves. And she has quite an extensive resume of games that she's worked on, whether it's in QA or production or just being in charge of the overall project. So that does suggest that she is at least interested in producing large amounts of content, and that has got to be a good thing, because that's not really been one of Blizzard's strong points right now. Now, it looks like that her half of the leadership, at least, is going to be more concerned about the sort of creative side of things, which is fine. The other half to this dynamic duo now is Mikey Barr. Now, he is a more structure-orientated kind of guy. He joined in 2019, and his latest work has been upgrading the Battle.net launcher and all of the other integration systems. So he does also look like he has a decent interest in gaming and the actual platforms required for gaming as well. Just having a quick look through his Twitter, he seems fairly active, so that does bode well for communication, which has been yet another problem that Blizzard Entertainment have had. So overall, this is a very positive change. You know, I'm usually nervous about dual leadership, and, you know, obviously there will be some crossover between the two of them, but it does look like they have been picked for clearly delineated roles within the company structure itself. You know, the leadership at Blizzard did need some freshening up, it needed some fresh takes, and I imagine that, you know, Jay is not going to be the last person booted to pursue new interests. I'm sure there are many, many more to come. My only concern is I just hope that these two get along, otherwise we're going to have stalemate and factions emerging which will not help matters at all. If you've been following what's been happening at Lucasfilm in the last couple of years, you'll have some fair idea of how it could turn out. From a PR perspective, it's also a pretty shrewd move to have a woman in one of Blizzard's new leadership roles. Not only does that demonstrate to investors that they're taking steps to address the inequality in their workplace, which is mostly what the lawsuit from California is all about, but it also gives women still working there a direct line to the top and a far more sympathetic ear to, you know, the concerns that was probably previously there. Well, you know, we all hope anyway that she's not cut from the same corporate cloth as Fran Townsend, who apparently still has a job. Now, the fact that O'Neill and Ibarra are co-leads and they're not presidents does indicate that Activision are taking the opportunity to gain more creative and operational control of Blizzard from the inside, while Blizzard is lying bruised and battered on the ground. From mostly self-inflicted injuries, it does have to be said. But you know, we're talking about Bobby Kotick here, so you wouldn't really expect anything different. So you've got to credit him for making the big decisions there, although he doesn't seem awfully keen at looking in the mirror and having some introspection about how he allowed this culture to fester in the first place. Another member of Blizzard's upper management has also reportedly left the company, according to Bloomberg. This is Jesse Meshuk. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. Not sorry, really. You weren't doing a very good job. Now, he was the head of HR until very, very, very recently, and, you know, HR and its attitude to defendants was definitely an issue, you know. It's again good to see heads rolling for, you know, indifference, the incompetence, the gaslighting that was the regular story whenever you went to, you know, Blizzard HR with a complaint. Obviously, it isn't enough just yet. I mean, we have got plenty more in management who are inept or uncaring when the allegations are brought to their attention, so they will most likely be shuffled out quite quickly by Bobby, who's not wasting any time because he doesn't really want to risk the substantial interest and investment he's made with another scandal that might possibly come down the line. So from a management change perspective, things are looking pretty good. From the demands for organisational change from the troops who have been protesting and boycotting, that's not going so well. You know, they want a greater say in hiring practices and, most importantly, the end to arbitration that usually works in the company's favour whenever there's a dispute between company and employee. So those things haven't yet been addressed by management, and I think if Bobby thinks that he can just, you know, boot out a few middle managers, and that will just appease the 2,500 people who are on the record as being very annoyed, I don't think he's really going to be, he's not really thought about this too hard. Because at the end of the day, Bobby, you can't fire them all. So much for the rotten structure of the company. At least a few renovations are now taking place, but there is another area of Blizzard that probably needs to be at least added back and repainted, and that is, of course, the actual game development side. So they just had their earnings call, and it was generally upbeat. You know, they had their new people in. So fantastically good timing, wasn't it? Bringing in a couple of fresh people just bang on the day that you've got your earnings call. Anyway, so yes, they seem to be very excited about, you know, the prospects for Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, which are two large projects that have been in development for some time, and we're not expecting to see until next year at the very, very earliest. In spite of that, you know, Blizzard also announced that there are another million MAUs, or monthly active users, down. Now, revenue is still generally quite healthy, mainly because the whales continue to feed on the Battle.net shop. I mean, this is a basic design that says it doesn't really matter the quality of the game we put out, as long as you've got the people, we retain the people that are spending all of the money at the shop, then we're absolutely fine. But it is fairly obvious that people are abandoning the Warcraft IP in droves, and it's not only because of the recent events. Let's be honest, the last two expansions, Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands, have quite frankly been boring, lazy, unimaginative, and shit. They have been stuffed to breaking point with systems and bottlenecks, time gating, and other anti-player agency nonsense like conduit energy, which is still in the game. Still in the game. So surely now is as good a time as ever for a new game director for World of Warcraft, as Ian Hazzikostas has constantly proven himself not fit for purpose. You know, you've had two clean shots at producing a decent expansion, and you failed utterly on both counts. So here's hoping that Jen O'Neill takes a good, cold, hard look at this guy who has been the driving force of severely diminishing subscriber numbers through his appalling design decisions. You know, it is worth remembering that before this Activision Blizzard scandal broke, World of Warcraft itself was generally in the doldrums. It had a pretty muted and mostly negative response to patch 9.1. The quality of the storytelling has been in question for some time, but a certain Miss S. Windrunner took it to new depths. And there has been a general apathy to more of the same tired old design decisions that come around every single time. Content creators are continuing to correctly criticise the glaring flaws in modern World of Warcraft, and some are actually leaving the space altogether. Final Fantasy XIV in particular has, through no extraordinary effort of its own, become a new home for the former denizens of Azeroth who just couldn't stomach yet another shit sandwich served up by the current development team. There must be plenty of people working at Blizzard who have had their own ideas and ambitions for the future of Warcraft, but, you know, instead of being given free rein to create, they have been instructed to churn out drudgery like Korthia instead. So, you can promote from within, or you can get some passion in from the outside of the WoW bubble, but, whatever works, we really do need to make World of Warcraft competitive again with its neighbours. As for the prospect of a WoW 2 project, a complete reboot of the system, well, that is something that has been doing the rounds recently, but that is another video entirely, and I'm considering trying to cover it in detail. But not today, folks. I think you've had quite enough of my mooing for one sitting. I'll be back with more content soon, but currently I'm in content that I actually enjoy. So until then, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very warm farewell to you.